Good morning, everyone. This is Arnie, and welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Lenny, that was an incredible start to our week, and I'm looking forward to hearing Kevin Hastings today at 11. And it's just going to be what a week. I mean, it's going to be there are going to be signings this week. You can count on it. It's a matter of who goes where. Let's dig right in. How about Gerrit Cole? All right, over the weekend, the Yankees are offering him $35 million for 7 years. That's on the table. $245 million for 7 years. And, you know, they've said, everything I'm reading is the Yankees are all in on Gerrit Cole. There's no holdback. There's no, what if. They're in. They're all in. And you got to believe that's where he's going. Now, I guess the Dodgers, I guess the Angels, his hometown teams do have a chance at it. But, I think back to the days of when George Steinbrenner was the owner of the Yankees and he wanted his man, he got him. And the Yankee brass has not been of that mindset much lately. But here they are. And it's simple. It's really simple. The Yankees, they need an ace in order to be able to win a World Series. The pitching that they have is adequate, but you don't have that, let's throw him out there and you know what you're going to get. You're going to get 9 innings, you're going to get 15 strikeouts, but that's Gerrit Cole. So I'm looking at Cole and going to the Yankees. How about the Dodgers? Now, I don't know that the Dodgers are players on Gerrit Cole or not, but I did read this morning, preparing for the show, that they're considering a 7-year deal for Anthony Rendon. Wow. Now, 7 years, that's the same time frame the Yankees are talking about Gerrit Cole. Now remember, during Andrew Friedman's tenure as president of baseball operations for the Los Angeles Dodgers, the club hasn't signed any outside free agent for more than the $55 million that the Dodgers gave A.J. Pollock last offseason. They did give a $93 million contract extension to Clayton Kershaw last November. That's the largest deal the Dodgers have given to one of their own free agents. But as I was reading this morning, Ken Rosenthal's notes, the Dodgers could take a different approach this offseason. Okay, so they're well under the luxury tax threshold. They've been under the last 2 years, so they've got their penalty rate reset to the minimum. So in essence, the Dodgers can do anything they want. That means Gerrit Cole, Steven Strasburg, Anthony Rendon in the free agent market, or one of the big trade pieces, whether it's a Mookie Betts, whether it's a Chris Bryant or a Frankie Lindor. They have spent years, literally years, trying to get into this position where they are at the minimum penalty rate reset, and they are there now. Now remember, Scott Boras represents Gerrit Cole, Strasburg, and Rendon. Wow. What a trifecta that is, huh? So Boras represents Cole, Strasburg, and Rendon, arguably the top 3 free agents in this year's free agent pool. And reading The Athletic this morning, preparing for the show, Rosenthal mentions a scenario that could allow Boras to maximize the value of each player, starting with Cole joining the Yankees, the Angels responding by ramping up their pursuit of Strasburg. And once these aces are off the board, the Dodgers might be more likely to aggressively target Anthony Rendon. So, Rendon, obviously, the numbers don't lie. He is a numbers king. And so, can't you just see the Dodgers adding that piece to their puzzle? Let's keep our eye on it. I think Rendon could be a Dodger by the end of the week. Things that have happened other teams. How about the Cubs? Last year, the Cubs go out and pick up Nicholas Castellanos, who's now a free agent. Castellanos, coming over from Detroit, had an incredible year, his first year for the Cubs. And now the question is, will the Cubs re-sign Nicholas Castellanos? Well, there are payroll concerns that could prevent that from happening. The Cubs would love to have him, don't get me wrong. Okay? But Cubs officials are telling representatives of even low-budget free agents they need to clear money before engaging in serious negotiations. Chicago exceeded the competitive balance tax threshold in 2019, and they are on target to do it again this year without making a move or two to shed some salary. So, with at least 4 other teams eyeing Castellanos, the slugger could be off the market well before the Cubs can sort out their payroll situation. Who's in on it? Well, what I've been reading, the Diamondbacks are interested in Castellanos. The White Sox and Rangers are both interested. And remember, if he goes to the Rangers and or White Sox, he can also DH, which he could not do with the Cubs last year. And then there's also a report that I've read today. I don't know about it, but the report is clear. The Giants are talking about being in the mix for the 27-year-old Nicholas Castellanos. So the Giants, White Sox, Rangers, and D-backs all appear to be in the market. I read John Morosi's notes on Twitter this morning. So we'll see. But the Cubs, of course, the thing I've said earlier, I think the Reds could win the division this year. And you look at what they've already done, and we'll tie this back into the Cubs in a moment. But you look at the teams in that division, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Brewers, the Pirates, the Reds. The Reds are interested in Didi Gregorius. Last week they signed free agent Mike Moustakas to a 4-year, $64 million contract, which may take him out of the bidding for Gregorius. Suarez entrenched at third. Moose, now he's going to handle second base. Freddie Galvis, $5.5 million in 2020. But the Reds are still interested in Gregorius. He began his career with the Reds. Galvis and Gregorius, similar type players. So we'll see. Now the Phillies are also linked to Didi. And what would that do? Well, that would reunite Didi Gregorius back with his old manager, Joe Girardi, from Yankee days gone by. The Phillies are expected to focus on improving their infield. They've already signed Zach Wheeler to a 5-year, $118 million contract last Wednesday. And a Gregorius on the infield would improve the defense. So there's also an article out today that the Reds are also interested in Josh Donaldson. Now, I don't know where they would put Josh Donaldson with Gregorius. He'd have to play shortstop, and of course Suarez is at third, so I don't know exactly how Donaldson factors in there. But Donaldson is a fallback to Rendon for the Phillies. The Phillies are also linked to Rendon as well. So we'll see as the week progresses. And I think this year I'm looking for free agent signings earlier than what has been happening in recent years. Because I just believe that you're going to get these top-of-the-line free agents. They're going to be signing. They're going to be signing these big contracts. The ceiling will be set. And then a player like a Didi Gregorius going to Philadelphia if that's where he goes. Or Donaldson going to Philadelphia if that's where he goes. It'll be interesting to see what the Phillies do now that they have put Wheeler in the mix, trying to improve their pitching. They want to improve their defense. So we'll stay tuned. Now, the Indians are listening to trade offers for Corey Kluber. Teams are trying to buy low on Corey Kluber. The Indians are wanting to sell high on Corey Kluber. But look what he did last year. He had an oblique strain, finished the season with a 5.80 ERA over 7 starts. Might Cleveland be better off holding on to Kluber, rebuild his value, trade him in July before the trade deadline? Because, face it, he stunk it up last year. And if he would get off to a good start, the trade value would be out of sight. Kluber will earn $17.5 million this year, and he has an $18 million team option in 21, which means he'd still be available for 2 playoff races if he is traded this summer. Now, depending on what happens with Gerrit Cole and Steven Strasburg and Mad Bum, if those free agents are off the market in quick order, all of a sudden Kluber and the trade market, the attention there would increase. It would have to. Did you read about or did you hear about the Giants? They may be in on Gerrit Cole. Wow. Cole likes the idea of playing alongside brother-in-law Brandon Crawford. Did you know that? Brandon Crawford and Gerrit Cole are brother-in-laws. And there is no better park to pitch in than pitching at Oracle Park. Gerrit Cole is being courted by his brother-in-law. Meanwhile, the Yankees have laid money on the table and said, here it is. Boy, the plot thickens, doesn't it? I mean, it really does. So I was reading yesterday that the Yankee offer is on the table, $245 for 7 years, but could there be a 9-year or 8-year deal on the table, close to $300 million for Gerrit Cole? Wow. Crazy money. It's like Monopoly money, right? Except it's real money. Congratulations to Ted Simmons, elected to the Hall of Fame. You know, growing up a big baseball fan in the 70s, do you remember ever watching Ted Simmons smoking a cigarette in the dugout? I've seen that happen. You know, that would never happen today. But it was a different game in the 70s, wasn't it? Ted Simmons, an incredible catcher, St. Louis Cardinal, switch hitter, Hall of Famer. Simmons was named on 13 of the 16 ballots. Dwight Evans, Dave Parker, Steve Garvey were not selected. Evans, Dewey, who received 8 votes, was the only other candidate to appear on at least half of the ballots. So of those players, Dwight Evans, Dave Parker, Steve Garvey, Tommy John, Don Mattingly, Thurman Munson, the one player that intrigues me is Dave Parker. Not only longevity, but also in the 70s, late 70s, mid-late 70s, Dave Parker was in a class all by himself. I mean, the Cobra, when he struck, wow. And I wonder, you know, if you don't know, Dave Parker has Parkinson's and is suffering mightily from that dreaded disease. But I got to believe Dave Parker, Dwight Evans, Steve Garvey, they all get in. Garvey had longevity. Evans had longevity. Lou Whitaker. Interesting. So let's look at the top stories at the winter meetings. So Agent Scott Boras, I've already said he represents Cole, Strasburg, excuse me, and Rendon, but he also represents Hyun-Jin Ryu, Nicholas Castellanos, and Dallas Keuchel. As you know, Cole and Strasburg have already held meetings with multiple teams, the Yankees. And if the Yankees sign either of those pitchers, you got to believe they're a favorite to be picked to win the American League. Now, Boras, remember how deliberate he was with Bryce Harper last year. Bryce Harper didn't sign until late February. Keuchel remained available until June. But the markets for Cole, Strasburg, and Rendon are active. Wow. Boras is going to be a busy guy this week at the winter meetings. And if any winter news breaks from the meetings this morning while I'm on the air, I will give you that information. I'm checking it as we speak. Now, third base, bullpens, trades, the Rangers, all of these are players. I heard Lenny say at the end of the show something about Kevin Gausman. Oh, come on. I just can't. I can't go there. Not Kevin Gausman. But Will Smith signed a 3-year, $40 million deal with the Braves. Drew Pomerantz signed 4 years, $34 million. Chris Martin, 2 years, $14 million. Jake Diekman, 2 years, $7.5 million. There's some more interesting arms out there. Will Harris, Daniel Hudson, Steve Chyshek, Craig Stammen, Pedro Strop, David Phelps, recently non-tendered Blake Trinan. And what about Dellin Betances? He's one of the most dominant bullpen arms in the game from 2014 to 2018, before injuries cost him all but 2 batters in 2019. He underwent Achilles surgery this fall. He's expected to miss the first 2 months of 2020, but he could be a true difference maker during the pennant race. And I could see him going to Philadelphia to join former manager Joe Girardi. Let's see. How about the trade market for Mookie Betts, Chris Bryant, Frankie Lindor? They all have been discussed. Where there's smoke, there's some fire. For the right price, one of these franchise players, or all of them, could be on the move. Remember, 3 years ago, the Red Sox pulled off a huge trade at the winter meetings. Chris Sale went from the White Sox to the Red Sox. Jan Moncada went to Chicago. Giancarlo Stanton traded during the winter meetings when he was moved from Miami to New York 2 years ago. Miggy Cabrera was dealt to the Tigers during the 2007 winter meetings. And that trade came 2 years before Detroit made another big swap at the meetings, sending Curtis Granderson to the Yankees in a 3-team deal that sent Max Scherzer from the D-backs to the Tigers. Max Scherzer. What a trade that was. Now the Rangers, we know they have already signed right-hander Kyle Gibson. Mediocre pitcher, give you some innings, 3 years, $30 million. Texas has also met with Rendon, who is a Houston native, who would be popular signing with Ranger fans. Rangers were also in the mix for both Wheeler and Hamels. Now they're considering Bumgarner, Ryu, and Keuchel. And Ryu is one to watch in this situation because he said, quote, it would be special, end of quote, to play with fellow South Korean Shin-Soo Choo, who remains on the Rangers roster. Wouldn't that be interesting? Now, of course, Ryu, the issue there is health. But last year, for 4 months, into the summer, Ryu was dominant. Absolutely dominant. We'll see if Texas gets him. Will the Orioles trade Trey Mancini? He's 27 years old. And will he really be around for the next contending Orioles team? I don't think so. What could they get? Who could they get for Trey Mancini? A really good hitter. Could they pull off 2 or 3 prospects? Probably so. So we'll see. The Rays, do they go after Blake Trinan? The Red Sox, are they going to trade Mookie Betts? Will the Indians trade Lindor? Royals need bullpen help. Their ERA, the Royals bullpen, was atrocious last year. 5.07 ERA. Do the Royals go out and add, say, a Blake Trinan? Another weakness for another team. Detroit had the worst hitting catchers in the majors last year. And that's their first all-season priority this year. What about the White Sox? Now, I've told you I like the White Sox to win that division in 2020. They missed out on Zach Wheeler. Are they targeting another pitcher? And again, a Strasburg, a Ryu, makes perfect sense for those on the south side. Who will the Astros pick up to replace Gerrit Cole? That's a good question, right? Remember, Charlie Morton went to Tampa. Gerrit Cole's going somewhere. Will the Astros go out and pick up a free agent? Will they make a trade? Are the Braves done spending? The Braves have already signed some free agents. We know they signed Cole Hamels, Travis d'Arnaud, Will Smith. Now, these are helpful players, but there's still the hole created by Josh Donaldson not being re-signed. And that's a big hole at third base. How about the Marlins? You know, the Marlins to me are an interesting team because they go out and get Jonathan Villar, who has good pop, steals bags, infuses energy. They also brought in Jesus Aguilar. Now, I'm not as big on the Aguilar pickup. Cooper can play first base. But what if Aguilar returns to glory from 2 years ago? And Jonathan Villar continues to play and perform at the level he did last year for Baltimore. Are you kidding me? It ought to be an interesting... Yeah, I mean, Villar, that could be the pickup of all pickups. How about the Mets? Now they've lost Zach Wheeler. There is talk they're going to pursue Rick Porcello. What do you think about that? I mean, Porcello is not Wheeler. Porcello has struggled. Now remember, he was a Cy Young winner for the Red Sox. Won 20 games a few years ago. Flushing is a great pitcher's park. The Brewers, are they really serious about trading Josh Hader? Because if they are, they can really cash in on some other players. I believe that. The Cardinals, Marcell Ozuna is probably not going to resign. They've got in-house options, including Harrison Bader, Tommy Edman, Tyler O'Neill, Jose Martinez. Now, every one of those guys I just named have a flaw, whether it be a defensive lack of ability, whether it be striking out. But the Cardinals may go looking elsewhere. They may try to pick up a free agent, a stopgap, if you will, measure in their outfield to help their struggling offense. And then you got Chris Bryant with the Cubs. Would they trade him? Will the Cubs trade Wilson Contreras? Now, I go back to what I said earlier. I like the Reds. I could see the Cubs finishing in the lower levels of the division this year, right along with Pittsburgh. Maybe ahead of Pittsburgh. But I don't see them as good as the Reds. I don't see them as good as the Cardinals. Could they finish third? Sure. And the Reds, they're not done. Are they going to keep on pushing for players? They went after Zach Wheeler, didn't get him. Lenny mentioned Robbie Ray this morning. Lenny mentioned if the Yankees don't get Gerrit Cole, they may well go after Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray has so much potential, but it always seems he gets in his own way. Hard thrower, wild at times. At other times, he's downright awesome. So the Diamondbacks, they're not shy about making deals for the future while trying to win now. We learned that with the Paul Goldschmidt trade and the Zach Greinke trades last year. Goldschmidt going to St. Louis, Greinke going to Houston. They will make a trade. Ray is the ace right now in the desert. But do you see the possibility of him being traded? Certainly. So let's keep our eye on that. A lot to keep our eye on. Nothing has broken this morning. I've been looking, going back and forth to see if there are any trades, any free agent signings. None. Not yet. So we'll keep our eye on it. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning. We'll update the free agency, trades, see what's going on in those winter meetings. Until then, this is Arnie. Have a good day. Kevin Hastings up at 11. Stay tuned for Kevin. And I think Kevin then comes back on at 2 as well. So a big afternoon, great shows. Look forward to sticking around the chat room. Have a great day, everybody.